I don't know what happened. I don't remember the next few minutes, but I got in the car and I drove. Hi friends, it's Celeb Buzz. Welcome back to my channel. I just saw that clip that you saw in the very beginning of this video where Janelle is crying and we know what she's talking about. This is going to be on the newest episode that's coming up on Sunday, May 4th. There are very few times in my job where I find any joy in having to cover tragedy. In fact, I actually hate it. I don't like it, and it's an unfortunate aspect of the work I do. A lot of my work involves covering difficult and challenging stories. This one in particular really affected me personally. It also affected you, the audience, and those who have been following this family closely. There were so many questions when this happened, about how TLC would handle it. TLC does not have the best reputation when it comes to handling these situations ethically or kindly. They're known for exploiting or sanitizing situations that shouldn't be sanitized. They've been known to give platforms to deeply harmful people. Jim Bob Duggar used the show to control his family. Cody Brown is using a show to control his family, and others like Kate Gosselin and Toby Willis. There's a whole list. Even some individuals from 90 Day Fiancé have been arrested, and yet there seems to be little accountability in TLC's world. Now on Sunday, TLC is going to cover the aftermath and the tragedy of Garrison Brown's passing. Other reality shows have had to confront the loss of cast members, but I don't think any show has dealt with a passing quite like this. Whitney from My Big Fat Fabulous Life, for example, had to cover the death of her mom, who had been sick. Grandpa and Grandma Duggar passed away, and Grandma Duggar's funeral was even shown on the show, which I thought was wild. But again, those were older individuals, many of whom had been ill. Rarely do we see a show where someone so young, just stepping into adulthood, dies in such a tragic way. And then we see the police report, which reveals his final text messages to people he worked with, production crew members, his dad, Christine, siblings, and his mom. He wrote something along the lines of, "I want to hate you for the good times, but I can't. I miss those days." His mom checked in on him, and he told her he wasn't doing okay. This all happened in March. In the lead up to it, Cody, during that season of Sister Wives, had been publicly bullying Garrison and his sons. He referred to his own children as jerks. He said he didn't want to talk to them anymore. On the tell-all, Cody said he wanted to punch family members in the mouth for speaking poorly of Robin. He got very aggressive, as though he needed to protect his wife from his own kids, suggesting they were a danger. He continued alienating Robin and her kids from the rest of the family. So when Cody appears in this week's episode, pretending that he was alienated by his wives and family, it truly makes me feel sick. He's still playing the victim, even knowing full well that what happened is, in part, a byproduct of his actions. Tragedies like this are incredibly complex. Many factors play into them. Someone struggling with ideation is also likely battling mental illness. They may feel like they're a burden, and that their absence would make life easier for everyone else. That kind of thinking can spiral, and without help, it can become overwhelming. Garrison was also dealing with substance abuse. His alcohol level was extremely high, and the coroner ruled the cause of death to be alcohol poisoning in addition to the self-inflicted nature of it. When you combine alcohol with access to a firearm, the outcome is tragic. If he'd been sober, things might have turned out differently. The family has long had internal conflict and disputes, and this show has often danced around just how severely the kids have been affected. This season has been especially difficult for me to watch. Last season, it was so clear the kids were angry, struggling, and wanted to be heard. But this season, after the death, TLC seems to be backtracking. They're almost trying to paint Cody as misunderstood or walk back his previous comments. Cody himself said things to the camera about how he didn't mean those cruel words. He's trying to rewrite the narrative, like he's a victim of how his ex-wives presented him. He claims they didn't protect the privacy of the breakup, saying things like, "Your dad is this, your dad is that." So now he says he's trying to rebuild relationships and not let his ex-wives define how his kids see him. But we're now watching all of this unfold after Garrison's death, and it feels hollow. In season 18, Cody was on camera berating his kids, calling Garrison a jerk, saying he never wanted to speak to him again. It's as if they hope viewers forget all that happened. Now, with 3 more episodes left before the tell-all, it seems likely each episode will focus heavily on Garrison's death. But how do you authentically cover something like this on a reality show driven by ratings? How do you show the root causes of conflict in the family? Things like what Cody says to tabloids, producers, or the host, without truly addressing the trauma these kids endure? They've had to live their lives without privacy. Their darkest moments become storylines, and now even Garrison's death is being used as part of that. Reality TV has a history of exploiting tragedies, especially those involving self-harm. There are so many pressures: fame, negative portrayals, social media backlash. All of these can severely affect someone's mental health. We know Garrison faced significant backlash from his father. Mental health can be fragile under that kind of stress. And these reality shows rarely offer real support. The camera crews film day after day, fully aware of what's happening, yet no therapy is offered, no mental health resources provided. They just keep rolling the cameras, focused on creating a marketable show, not on the well-being of the cast. There's a risk here, too, of suicide contagion, where detailed or sensationalized coverage of suicide can unintentionally lead to more. And if a show thrives on conflict, drama, and humiliation, it's incredibly damaging to those being filmed. Reality TV has no guidelines or regulations. Unlike actors playing roles, these are real people forced to create drama, relive trauma, and expose their private pain. Day-to-day life is not dramatic. Most of us live very ordinary, quiet lives: school runs, dinner, bedtime routines. It's not TV-worthy, and so producers push drama to keep it entertaining. But when people are constantly asked to rehash pain and revisit trauma, it becomes emotionally destructive. That's what's happening now with this show. How do they move on like nothing happened? How does Cody continue with this new storyline of being an amazing father? TLC has spent 22 episodes trying to rehabilitate his image, showing him doting on Robin's kids while ignoring his other children. In a recent episode, Cody talks about seeing Aspen, McKelty, and the twins. He mentions seeing 2 sons from another mother. Based on the timeline, it was likely Hunter and Logan. It wasn't Garrison or Gabriel. He's trying to create a narrative that he's this involved, loving dad. Will the show address the fact that Cody didn't go to the scene? Will they show how he was estranged from Garrison? Will they show how Garrison was struggling with mental illness and substance abuse? His friends have spoken about the shame, self-doubt, and trauma he was facing, some of it related to the show. Will TLC include that? It could be eye-opening, but it might also disrupt the guilty pleasure element that keeps audiences watching. There's a voyeuristic thrill in reality TV, like watching something you shouldn't be seeing. Would viewers still watch if they truly understood what's happening behind the scenes? I personally watch to expose Cody, to highlight the harms of polygamy, to advocate for women and victims of cult-like environments. I'm not here to support media that glamorizes abuse or becomes propaganda for dangerous practices that hurt women and children. At what point will the show take this seriously? Will they even acknowledge how prevalent suicide is among young men in these cultures? The shunning, shame, and rejection they face when they don't conform is immense. They lose family, community, and sometimes everything they've ever known. The lack of support, understanding, or education about mental health, paired with religious or cultural stigmas, makes it worse. They're told mental illness is their fault. They're discouraged from taking medication or seeking help. There's a belief that if they just try harder or pray more, they'll be okay. That mindset is dangerous. I doubt any of that will make it into the show. What saddens me most is that these women were contractually obligated to film through this. Did they even want to film it? Couldn't they have stopped and said, "We're done"? And for TLC to now dedicate the last 3 episodes to Garrison after ignoring him all season, it feels off. He wasn't named or shown once in 22 episodes, and now, suddenly, we're covering his death. It feels manipulative. We'll have to see how it's handled. I just wanted to give you all a heads up. If you don't want to watch, you don't have to. I will, but I'll do so with a heavy heart. My stomach is in knots even making this video because I hate this. Garrison Brown's life ended far too soon. He was a victim of a polygamous cult and of an abusive father. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of self-harm or ideation, know that you are not alone. Help is available 24/7 in the US. Just dial 988. I want to know your thoughts. Share them in the comments.